In 1909, a frail young woman was found completely submerged in a bathtub in ice-cold water, and beside her on a pile of neatly folded clothing, they found a self-cancellation note. But not everything in this scene seemed quite right. Let's unravel the extremely tragic and sinister case of Ocey Snead.
Morbid history.
Ocey Snead, but most usually called Ocey, was born in 1885 in Manhattan, New York, into a very large web of control, manipulation, and deceit. At an early age, her father and brother both demised from accidents, like falling downstairs and setting themselves ablaze, paying out some very much needed life insurance policies while at it, of course. Even after all this, Ocey grew up to be a beauty of her time and was said to have a very sweet temperament. Her mother, though, Caroline Martin, and her two aunts, Virginia Wardlaw and Mary Snead, were women of extreme, strict religious fervor. And yeah, Ocey was sadly very neglected from childhood and from when she had to go and live with her mother and her two aunts. Her mother and aunts were once part of high society in the South, but by the early 1900s they had drifted into a life of secrecy and schemes. These women were notorious for their eerie appearance, always clad in black, veiled, and draped in heavy mourning attire, and were known as the Black Sisters. They moved like specters through society, and their presence unsettled those around them. It was said that they always spoke in hushed tones, their voices weighed with sorrow, though the source of their grief was never quite clear. Some of the most wilder rumors about these sisters were that they would be visiting graveyards at night, where there would be just walking around, performing some strange rituals and talking in some unknown language. Safe to say, people were thoroughly creeped the heck out. And with these women, poor Ocey had very little agency over her own life. After a few years, she actually married her first cousin, Fletcher Snead, and her mother and aunts did not approve of the union, causing much strain. That strain did not get much better after a while when Ocey became pregnant and gave birth to a little girl, who sadly passed away very shortly after. But she once again got pregnant, and this time with a little boy. Both Ocey and the boy came out of the ordeal not in the best shape possible, so the little boy was sent to a hospital, and when he got better, Ocey's mom and aunts sent the boy away to an orphanage, and Ocey had absolutely no say in that matter. Ocey was sent into a very deep grief, depression. Why, who wouldn't? She became bedridden. And she would stay there for months, all while her mother and aunts administered her with copious amounts of morphine, and by all accounts not even feeding her properly, because while she was lying there suffering from severe depression, she even had very severe malnutrition. And even stranger, her husband Fletcher, at some point while she was pregnant with the son, fled away to Canada. Some say to get away from the family. Ocey's keepers, the Black Sisters, actually told Ocey that Fletcher had demised by his own hands over there in Canada, and Ocey would believe that until her own demise. Truth was that Fletcher was alive and good and lived under a different name in Canada. He was found much later on, so yeah. Safe to say, losing 2 children and apparently her own husband was just all too much for one fragile woman. When a doctor came to visit, it said that she weighed only 80 pounds, fading away, high on morphine. One of the few outsiders who were actually able to witness how badly everything was going for Ocey was a doctor who was called to examine her at some point, and he was horrified by what he found. A woman so emaciated and weak she could barely move, let alone care for herself. He noted the absolute lack of proper nourishment and squalid conditions in which she was kept, and also that she seemed terribly afraid of her keepers, the Black Sisters. This doctor tried desperately to help, prescribing food and warning that if Ocey did not receive immediate care, she would not survive. But the mother and aunts dismissed his concerns, refusing to follow orders. The doctor later recounted his frustrations. He even tried to climb up into an upstairs window into Ocey to give her food, but was unsuccessful, chased away by the mother and aunts. And he emphasized how powerless he felt against that iron grip that these women had over their victim, poor Ocey. So he went to the authorities to tell them, there's this woman just lying there, not being fed, not being cared for, and she's slowly fading away. And also apparently drugged to heck and back. Morphine.
Shit's all fucked up! Don't forget to like and subscribe!
But no one listened to him. Authorities just brushed it off. If they had listened, perhaps Ocey would have been saved. But instead, these warnings just faded into some kind of void, and the plot against Ocey continued undisturbed. So, on the chilly morning of November 29, 1909, authorities discovered Ocey's lifeless body, aged only 24, completely submerged in a tub with her clothes neatly placed beside her. Her face was under the faucet and she was lying on her right side. The cause? Drowning. A supposed self-cancellation note lay beside her, and it read, "Last year my little daughter died. Other near and dear kindred too have gone to heaven. I long to go there too. I have been ill and weak a very long time now. Death will be a blessed relief to me in my sufferings. When you read this, I will have committed sewerslide. My sorrow and pain in this world are greater than I can endure. Ocey W.M. Snead." At first glance, this all seemed as a very tragic ending of a grief-stricken young woman, but the police took one look at her extremely emaciated frame lying there and the squalid surroundings and the very peculiar behavior of her mom and her aunts, and suspicion quickly took root. How did even a woman so weak and frail from prolonged starvation and being drugged have the strength to fill a whole tub, climb in, and just hold herself underwater until passing, shuffling, yeeting off this mortal coil? The math just wasn't mathing, my morbid comrades. Investigators also noticed something very unusual in the fireplace. There were burned scraps of additional sewerslide notes, rewritten several times, as if someone had been trying to perfect some kind of narrative. And even worse, it was found out by the coroner that Ocey had been demised for 24 hours before they called authorities. Who in their right mind would even leave such a sickly woman alone in a bathroom for a full day and not check in? And this was actually the only bathroom in the entire apartment that they were renting, this very derelict little place. Did no one need to go and use it? Under this scrutiny, the sisters' house of cards collapsed. As the case unraveled, it became clear that Ocey was not the only victim of the sinister trio. Authorities discovered that other relatives had succumbed under suspicious circumstances, and each with conveniently timed life insurance payouts. The 3 mourning women had actually taken out multiple of such insurances on Ocey, and with her demise, they got a payment of $32,000, which was a lot back then. But with all the other strange accidents that had occurred, it was quickly understood that this was not an isolated incident. It was a pattern of demise, leaving the Black Widows richer every time. So it was concluded that they had been starving her, keeping her ill, supplied with extreme amounts of drugs, morphine, and ultimately orchestrating her untimely demise, all in a bid to collect these payouts. But when she clung to life a bit longer than they expected, they took matters into their own hands. One of the aunts, Virginia Wardlaw, was convicted but self-cancelled in prison. Caroline Martin, Ocey's own mother, pleaded guilty to manslaughter but was declared insane and passed away in confinement at an asylum. And then we had the third sister, Ocey Snead. She was the only one to escape punishment on the technicality that there was no such charge as accomplice to manslaughter. So she just went away and moved to California, where she succumbed in 1937. During the trial, newspapers reveled in the grotesque details, dubbing the case one of the most horrifying familial betrayals of the century. One of those headlines, for example, read, "The Black Widows who spun a web of death," cementing their infamy in true crime history. And so, the very tragic case of Ocey Snead came to a sad end. It wasn't just a life stolen, it was a life that was never hers to begin with. She was a victim of greed, control, and most chillingly, extreme family betrayal. So remember, my darklings, not all monsters lurk in the shadows. Some sit at your dinner table, pouring tea with one hand and plotting your demise with the other. Yeah. Fun. So, what do you think happened here? What's your thoughts? Let me know. Let me know down in the comments. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. It really helps the algorithm. And a giant hecking thanks to all my Patreon members and my YouTube members. You are the ones just helping me keeping this channel running, and so that I'm able to purchase all my software that I need to make them. So thank you. You're my heroes. And of course, stay hydrated, stay amazing, but most of all, stay morbid, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.